welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name's Amanda. So today's video is a fun one. We've got some really easy make-ahead appetizers. I kind of went for like a Kentucky Derby theme because, you know, that's this weekend, and I thought that would be kind of fun. These would also be perfect for Mother's Day. You know, that's coming up soon too. But these were really fun to make and some super delicious recipes. So I really think you're going to enjoy them, but let's go ahead and get into the video. So let's get started on our hot brown party rolls. And y'all, if you only make one thing out of this video, this is the recipe. These were amazing. So I've just shredded some Gruyere cheese. I couldn't find slices. The recipe called for slices. Well, I did, but it was like really expensive, and I just found a small thing of the cheese itself, and so I just shredded it. It worked just fine. So, you know, if you have the same issue, then you can definitely do that. And I'm just going to lay my turkey here. I'm using some like lower sodium just to kind of help me out as far as on the salt aspect, because that is one thing that this kind of does have, you know, a lot of cheese, a lot of things like that. So I love that you have options of lower sodium meats and stuff like that for deli meats. And we're just going to top that with some tomatoes. I tried to kind of get it as even as I could, as far as like, you know, where it wouldn't be like be more towards, you know, one per each sandwich, but I did the best I could anyway. And we're going to also add some bacon on top of that, and I've just got some bacon that I cooked in the oven, and then I just kind of chopped it up into some pieces, and I'm just going to lay that on top of there. You could, you know, do this however you like. If you wanted to do strips, it's just easier to cut in between the sandwiches if you kind of have it already chopped smaller like this. And once we get that done, we're actually going to sprinkle some more of the Gruyere cheese on top and a little bit of Parmesan as well. Then we're just going to put the tops of our rolls on, and then we're going to get our like topping mixed, you know, with the butter and all the good stuff in there. Now this calls for melted butter, Dijon mustard, dried minced onion, Worcestershire sauce, I probably butchered that, but light brown sugar, just a tad of that, some grated garlic, and a little bit of hot sauce. Now I will tell you, I cut back the butter on this a little bit, and I will cut it back even more. I don't think you need more than maybe like half a stick to 3/4 a stick. This was a lot of butter, and I can't even believe how much butter it would have been if I'd have put the whole thing on there. So, but that's really the only change I think I would recommend on these. Now you just pour it on top. I'm using my pastry brush to kind of spread it around a little bit. Now these bake in a 375-degree oven for about 15 minutes, covered with foil, and then you take the foil off and let them bake for another 8 to 10. I think I did 10 minutes, and they got a little brown in spots, a little dark, so I would probably check them around 7 or 8 minutes and then see. You know, ovens are so different, so it's always best to check them a little early. But then, you know, you just go ahead and cut them up, and these are so like easy. You can make them the day ahead and then just do the butter topping right before you bake them. I just love all the different slider variations. I think it's so fun to try to make different things and try different ones, because they're such fun little sandwiches, and you can just have them to snack on, or you can even have them as part of your meal. It's like they're so versatile, and these were absolutely delicious. I honestly cannot recommend this recipe anymore. They were so good. But if y'all have a favorite slider recipe, let me know in the comments below. I'm always looking for like new ways to do these sliders, because I think they're just so fun. And they're great for like, you know, appetizers, if you're having get-togethers, and most of them can be made ahead. I know these could, so it's such a handy thing to be able to do that. And especially when you're trying to put several things together for a get-together, you know, you can do as much as you can ahead of time, and it's such a time saver the day of. But definitely try these, y'all, and if you do, let me know. So very good. And now we're going to make some fun, almost like tea sandwiches. We're going to make some homemade pimento cheese and do sandwiches with those. And then also some Benedictine spread and make sandwiches with those. So we're getting started with the pimento cheese first. And I went mostly by the recipe on this. I did make a little bit of changes. I've got like half a cup of mayonnaise in here. I also used about 2/3 of the block of cream cheese. I did microwave it a little bit so that it would actually like blend really well. It also calls for salt, garlic powder, and cayenne pepper. I did not add any salt because I felt like with the cheese there's plenty of salt, but I've got my cheese that I've shredded here. I used either a sharp or extra sharp, and I think I actually used a combination because I started out with one 8-ounce block, but after I tasted it, it wasn't quite like, I felt like it needed a little more cheese in it, and so I added just a little bit more shredded cheese. I think that one was like the extra sharp. And I've got my jar of drained pimentos that I added in there as well. And I have to say that I typically don't love pimentos in like pimento cheese I buy out, but these pimentos were really good. They were softer, and I liked them a lot better. So if you're kind of like me with the pimentos, you might like these better. But it's super easy. You literally just stir all this together, and the pimento cheese is done. So now we're going to get started on our Benedictine spread. I've got an English cucumber here that I'm kind of trying to slice pretty thin, but also like quartered it. So like making pretty small pieces so that it can mix in well with the cream cheese. And we're also going to get some green onion cut up. Now I cut this recipe in half. I wasn't sure how many would eat this at my house because my daughter and I were probably the main ones. And so I didn't want to make too much of it. But this was really good. It actually surprised me really well. All the flavors were really good in it, and I had never had like cucumber sandwiches or anything like that, so it was kind of fun to try these. I've got some cream cheese in there, some mayonnaise. I ended up having to use dried dill. I had bought some fresh dill, but it actually was not good, and so it had an odd smell to it, so I did not use it. I'm putting just a little bit of salt in there, some black pepper, and we're going to go ahead and put in our green onions and our cucumbers and get that all mixed together. And y'all, this is so simple. Again, both these spreads I actually made ahead of time. I let them sit out and come to room temperature about 30 minutes, and then they were perfect spreadable consistency. Now on this one I did sit there and taste it, added a little bit more dill. I'm a big proponent of just taste as you go. You know, recipes are a great guide, but sometimes, you know, your taste might be a little different. So, and I've just got some regular white bread here, and I'm just spreading the pimento cheese. Y'all, that pimento cheese was so good. It was really good with like crackers, and I actually sometimes would eat just a little bit of the pimento cheese and a little bit of the Benedictine spread, and it was like really good combination together with crackers too. You could do so many different things with pimento cheese. I've always loved pimento cheese. I used to take pimento cheese sandwiches in my lunch sometimes when I was a kid, but these were like super simple, like I said, to put together. It's so fun to like make these little party sandwiches and then have them on hand, like, you know, for a get together. Also, I've always wanted to do like a little tea party thing with the little sandwiches and the little pastries, and I need to do that sometime. I just think it's so, I don't know, so fun and seems neat. So one of these days maybe. But, you know, of course you cut off the crust of bread, you know, so it looks a little more fancy, and get that cut into little triangles, and then you could stack these however you like. I actually have like a tiered serving tray I started to use for these, but then I decided to use my square plates because then I could use the middle section to put a little bit of the spread in there. Because, you know, the good thing about the spread is you could also eat it other ways, like I mentioned earlier, with crackers or with veggies. I think even that Benedictine spread would be good on like bagels, because it's kind of like a veggie cream cheese spread, and so I feel like that might even be good like that. So lots of different ways you could use these spreads for sure. I think I've even seen pimento cheese a lot of times done in like the celery sticks and stuff like that. So that's another thing. And of course, serving them among like some fresh veggies would be perfect too. Let me know if y'all have any like spreads that you make, like maybe even do sandwiches like these, and what are your favorite kind of fillings for those, because I'm curious. Like now that I've done these, I kind of think it, like, again, it's just kind of a fun thing to do, something different. And I may try to do this again sometime and make some different fillings or something. I think even just standard, you know, sandwich type things can be fun to just present it in a different way too, or maybe even add a spread with the sandwich filling. So, but these were really good. Definitely recommend these recipes, especially, you know, for any of your get-togethers. You know, be perfect to make ahead and have ready to go. And we're going to go ahead and get into our Kentucky Bourbon Pie. You know, I mentioned at the beginning of this video, this was kind of themed around the Kentucky Derby, but at the same time, Mother's Day is coming up. So all of these recipes would be perfect for that as well. I had hoped to get it out before the Kentucky Derby. That did not work out for me, just due to my kids' birthdays were all this week, and it just got a little busier than I had anticipated. And so, yeah, so it's been a fun week, but I just didn't have as much time to get all this done that I wanted to. So, we're going to go ahead and get our pie crust into our pie pan, and then also put some mini chocolate chips in there and some chopped pecans. this was the first time I'd actually used this pie plate. I just got it not long ago from Target. I just ordered it online, and I was really impressed by it. It's really sturdy. It is nice and heavy, and it's like a stoneware kind of thing. And it was nice and deep, and I really like that because I like to make sure the pie filling doesn't overflow. So that was really handy. So in this bowl, I've added some eggs, melted butter, some bourbon, flour, just a tad bit of salt, and we're just going to mix that together. I had trouble getting that flour to mix in completely, but it did not seem to affect anything in the end. You'll see little clumps throughout, and it's just the flour clumps. But yeah, it just would not combine really well for me. But it worked out fine, so that's good. Now this recipe is a little different than like regular pecan pie that I've made before, because this is kind of like a pecan pie. It actually has you cook the sugars. It tells you to boil them for 5 minutes. I felt like that was a little long, so what I did is basically I brought it to a boil. We've got just regular sugar, brown sugar, and corn syrup there. Brought it to a boil. Let it kind of boil for just a minute or so, and just make sure that it was really good and combined and good, and you know, melted and everything was, you know, good and combined together. And then I went ahead and used it. Now this is where you have to be real careful. Anytime that you're adding a hot mixture to eggs, you can curdle the eggs, so you want to kind of drizzle in a little bit of the hot liquid and stir the eggs really good. Get that, you know, temperature kind of up on the eggs without like scrambling them, and then maybe add a little more. You can do it however much you're comfortable with, but I kind of like to go slow because I just don't want to get like scrambled eggs in my, you know, in my pie. So and then once you kind of do that, you can go ahead and pour all of it in and get it all good and mixed together. And then we're going to just pour that into our pie shell and put that in the oven. Now that bakes at 325 degrees for 45 to 50 minutes. The recipe does call for a metal pie plate, and I think that probably would cook it a little faster than the stoneware pie plate. So I actually did end up having to cook it probably about 10 to 15 minutes longer. But you do want it just a little jiggly still in the middle. So just watch for that. I feel like pecan pies are always like the most stressful, or any of these type custardy type pies, that to make sure they're done. But this was super delicious. We really enjoyed this as well. We're just going to top it with some whipped cream, and I'm going to shave some chocolate over top of it. Just grate some chocolate. And I love that little tiny grater. I don't even remember where I got that from, but I think little things like that are so cute. But thank y'all so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you've enjoyed these party food appetizer ideas. Maybe even use them for Mother's Day next week. That's going to be here before we know it. But thank y'all again so much. I appreciate your support each and every video, and I look forward to chatting with y'all in the comments. I hope you have a blessed day, and I'll see you in the next one.